Good morning. I am going to share a special story with you from a special book. It's my Bible that I have here at school. And I wanted to share with you the story about when Jesus was born. We're coming up to Christmas. It's really exciting. So there's a few different pages in here that I wanted to show you and read to you. The first little story is about when Gabriel, the angel, visits Mary. And Mary, we're going to come to find out, is Jesus's mom. So right here it says, a young woman named Mary loved God with all of her heart. And one day an angel named Gabriel came to visit Mary. He had a message from God. When Mary saw the angel, how do you think she felt when she saw the angel come to her? Do you think she was excited? She actually wasn't. She was really afraid. Because she didn't expect him to be there. See right here, she was just getting some water from a well. And then this angel appeared, and it was more like a light, so it startled her, and she was scared. But the angel said, do not be afraid. God is pleased with you. So that meant that God was watching Mary, and she was doing some really good things. She was being a good person. She was really kind, and she chose to follow God. So God chose her for this very special thing. So Gabriel the angel said, God is pleased with you. He's going to give you a special baby, and the baby will be God's own son, and you will name him Jesus. Well, Mary was amazed. She asked the angel, well, how can this be true? And the angel answered, well, nothing is impossible with God. So Mary believed, and she also thanked God. So see there, that picture right there? And then we go on to the next page, and it's talking about when Jesus was born. But before that, I wanted to talk about how Mary had to go and tell her boyfriend Joseph that this was going to happen. And Joseph, he wasn't married to Mary yet. And he could have left. He could have said, I don't want to deal with this, because they weren't married, and then Mary was going to have a baby. But he didn't. He chose, an angel came to him in a dream and talked to him about what God wanted him to do. He wanted him to raise Jesus here on earth and be with Mary. And Jesus was afraid too, Joseph was afraid too, but he listened to God. He did what God asked him to do. So he married Mary, and they were going to have this baby. And on this story right here, it talks about Mary rode on a donkey to Bethlehem. See, they had to go on this trip. It was kind of a government thing. They had to go back to the place where they were born, so they had to take this trip. The king was ordering them to. And Mary was about to have this baby, but they still had to go. It was called a census. So even though she was getting close to the time that Jesus was going to be born, they still had to be there. So they didn't have cars, so they rode on this donkey. And Mary said, Joseph, it's time for the baby to be born. So Joseph looked for a place to stay, but because all of these people were traveling to this town, all of the hotels, the inns, they were all booked. And there wasn't a place to stay. So every innkeeper kept saying, no, I don't have any room. There's no room, there's no room. And then finally, one innkeeper said, there is a place you can stay. It's in the barn. So you're welcome to stay there. So they found a stable, and a stable is an area in the barn where animals live. So they stayed there, and on that special night, the baby Jesus was born. And Mary wrapped Jesus in cloth and laid him in a manger. This is the manger right here. So the whole stall where the animals stay, that's called the stable. And you see this little box here. This is a manger, and they put hay in it and laid the baby in there to make kind of like a cradle for him, a crib. But a manger is really where the animals eat from. But they did what they had to do. So They laid him in the manger, a feeding box full of hay, and the animals must have been very surprised. That night, angels sang and praised God, and they said, "Glory to God in the highest, and peace on earth. Jesus, God's Son, was born." And that is so wonderful. And all the animals were there watching, and there's Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus.